fight, yeah. For boxers his level, yes.
Meaning what? Not your level?
I do not believe so, no, not at all.
Mike Tyson has fired back hard at Jake Paul after Jake finally broke his silence about the events of November 15th. In a shocking move, Jake accused Tyson of participating in a rigged fight and claimed the boxing legend only returned to the ring out of financial desperation. The comments didn't just cross a line, they lit a firestorm across the boxing world. Fans and insiders alike have slammed Jake for what many see as a blatant act of disrespect. Tyson, never one to bite his tongue, responded with fury. He tore into Jake for questioning his legacy and integrity, making it clear that his return was driven by love for the sport, not money. Tyson emphasized that boxing has always been about passion, pride, and competition, not paychecks. He made it known that he won't tolerate unfounded accusations from a fighter who's still trying to earn his stripes. This war of words has only escalated tensions between the two, setting the stage for a fiery showdown that fans are now more eager for than ever.
I've always been in the gym training. I'm boxing professional fighters. I'm just, activity is great. I had 15 fights in 1 year when I was younger, and I think activity is great, but I'm prepared.
A global icon like Mike Tyson begging a YouTuber for money? Come on, let's get real. The very idea is laughable. Does Jake Paul even understand the sport he claims to be part of, or is he just freelancing his way through boxing with clout and confidence? Judging by his latest comments, it's clear Jake is out of his depth. His entire boxing journey has been driven by social media buzz, flashy promos, and carefully chosen opponents designed to boost his brand, not challenge his skills. But when it comes to honoring the sport's legends, Jake falls painfully short. His remarks about Tyson weren't just out of line, they were proof of how little he grasps the grit, sacrifice, and legacy behind a name like Mike Tyson. Jake seems to think that having millions of followers gives him a license to disrespect one of the most feared and iconic fighters in boxing history. But Tyson isn't just another name in the game. He's a symbol of power, discipline, and a time when boxing was about pride, not platforms. Tyson's response? It wasn't just a verbal slap, it was a warning. A shot across the bow to remind everyone, especially Jake, that true greatness doesn't need hashtags or hype to be felt. The Tyson-Paul matchup may have started as the fight no one asked for, but it quickly turned into a spectacle no one could ignore. It became a collision of two worlds, one forged in decades of dominance and the other manufactured in the glare of viral fame. And now, Jake Paul is learning the hard way, when you poke a legend, there's always a price to pay.
Tyson is getting back in the ring. He's 58 years old. He's facing off against YouTuber turned boxer, 27-year-old Jake Paul.
When the news dropped that 57-year-old Mike Tyson would step into the ring against 27-year-old Jake Paul, the internet didn't just react, it exploded. Was this a legitimate bout or the strangest midlife flex in combat sports history? Memes flew, opinions clashed, and skeptics wasted no time labeling it a sideshow long before the first bell. But the controversy wasn't just about the 30-year age gap. It was about everything that separated these two men: experience, legacy, and respect for the sport of boxing. On one side stood Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, a former undisputed heavyweight champion whose name is etched in boxing lore. A man who redefined fear in the ring, who fought not just with fists, but with fury, presence, and primal instinct. And across from him? Jake Paul, a YouTuber turned boxer, best known for viral stunts, social media spectacle, and carefully calculated matchups. Sure, Jake has proven he can throw a punch, but his path to notoriety has been paved more by clicks than by combat. This wasn't just a fight. It was vintage greatness versus manufactured hype. A bottle of rare scotch clinking against a can of off-brand energy drink. And just when things couldn't get more surreal, Jake made his most ridiculous claim yet, that Tyson only took the fight because he needed the money. Seriously? Mike Tyson, the same man who's built a thriving cannabis empire, starred in films, helms multiple business ventures, and turned his name into a global brand? The idea that Tyson was financially desperate is laughable. And more than that, it was downright insulting. Fans were outraged. Not because Jake made noise, he always does, but because he crossed a line. Tyson's legacy isn't built on paychecks. It's built on pain, power, and perseverance. On rising, falling, and rising again. His story is one of reinvention and resilience, not some cash grab desperation Jake tried to sell. In the end, Jake Paul may dominate timelines, but Mike Tyson owns an era. Headlines come and go, but history remembers legends. And when it comes to legacy, Tyson already won the fight before it ever began.
There is an alleged script leak. This has not been confirmed. Take it with a grain of salt. No one knows if this is real.
Just when the hype around the fight began to settle, everything was thrown into chaos by a so-called script leak. And this wasn't your typical Reddit rumor, it was a shockingly detailed, round-by-round breakdown that read more like a film treatment than a fight prediction. It laid out exactly how the match would supposedly play out, and it wasn't vague. It was disturbingly specific. According to the leak, Tyson would come out strong, classic bob and weave, flashes of his legendary aggression, while Jake Paul would stay calculated, keeping his distance and absorbing the early onslaught. Then came the twist. In round 5, Tyson was scripted to hit the canvas after a perfectly timed right hook from Jake. The pacing? Cinematic. The structure? Suspiciously polished. It read like a choreographed underdog story, complete with a dramatic arc and controversial finish built to fuel post-fight debates. Even more unsettling? As the real fight unfolded, the script began to look less like fiction and more like prophecy. Tyson's speed was noticeably dulled, his movements sluggish. Jake looked sharp, landing clean shots with unexpected precision. Minor details from the leak, including a cut above Tyson's eye, began to come true. Fans couldn't ignore the eerie parallels. What was supposed to be a boxing match started to feel like a high-budget stage show. The crowd's excitement shifted to uneasy murmurs. Was this a real fight or WrestleMania in gloves? The line between sport and spectacle blurred. The boxing world split down the middle. Some brushed it off as coincidence. Others saw it as undeniable proof that the outcome was scripted. Either way, the leak cast a long shadow over the event, leaving fans questioning the authenticity of what they just witnessed and raising uncomfortable truths about where modern boxing is headed.
That love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy, we love him and his legacy.
While the internet buzzed with conspiracy theories and outrage, Mike Tyson stayed unusually silent. No fiery denials. No press statements. No attempts to shut down the growing speculation. For a man known for raw emotion and brutal honesty, his quiet was deafening. It wasn't just restraint, it felt calculated. Some believed Tyson didn't see the need to dignify the script leak with a response. Others suspected something deeper, that he was quietly assessing the situation, maybe even hunting down the source of the breach. If there really was a contract with strict non-disclosure terms, someone had clearly crossed the line. And Tyson, despite his calm exterior, isn't the kind of man to take betrayal lightly. Meanwhile, Jake Paul did what Jake Paul does, he poured gasoline on the fire. Instead of denying the allegations or clarifying the situation, he leaned into the chaos. On his podcast, he casually dropped a jaw-dropping comment. He claimed he eased off during the fight to avoid seriously hurting Tyson. Yes, really. According to Jake, he was the threat, and out of some mix of pity or respect, he held back. The reaction was instant. The backlash, brutal. Fans, pundits, and fighters across the board called foul. Was Jake seriously trying to convince the world that he went easy on Mike Tyson, a man who once dismantled champions in under 60 seconds? Was this an ego-fueled slip, a backdoor admission that the fight wasn't on the level, or just a wildly delusional flex? Either way, he may have let something slip that he wasn't supposed to. With that one comment, the fight veered from controversial to infamous. What was supposed to be a one-of-a-kind crossover event between a boxing icon and an internet star had devolved into a circus of speculation. Now, fans weren't just questioning the fight, they were rewriting the whole narrative in their heads. Had they witnessed a genuine clash of generations? Or had they unknowingly watched one of the biggest staged spectacles in combat sports history? Whatever the truth may be, one thing's for sure, the Tyson-Paul saga won't be forgotten anytime soon. This fight, and the chaos that came with it, will be talked about for years to come.
Exactly. I started to manifest. I started. Thank you. I started Jake Paul off.
Mike Tyson's patience finally wore thin quicker than Jake Paul could call himself a legit boxer. After weeks of silence while rigging rumors and that absurd leaked fight script went viral, Tyson broke his silence. But this time, it wasn't with a punch, it was with a statement. In a fiery interview with Fox Sports Radio, the former heavyweight king shut it all down. No, the fight wasn't scripted. No, he didn't take a dive. And yes, he took every one of those 78 punches square on the chin. You think I faked that? He growled, practically daring anyone to challenge him. This wasn't just a casual denial, it was Tyson in full force. You could hear the fury behind every word. His message was brutally clear: you don't pretend to feel like you got hit by a freight train the next morning. You live that pain.
Look at my life as a legacy. Legacy to me means ego. Who the cares about my legacy? I'm gonna be dead soon one day, but he's not gonna.
This wasn't just about the physical toll. Tyson's real anger came from what the rigging rumors were doing to his legacy. For a man who built his name on power, discipline, and authenticity, the idea of a fixed fight wasn't just insulting, it was a brass-knuckled slap to everything he stood for. Suddenly, his legendary status came with an asterisk, all thanks to a viral script that read like a bad Rocky reboot. Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder. Insiders hinted at a strict non-disclosure agreement tied to the event, the kind packed with bold, all-caps legal threats. If that NDA was real, no one involved was supposed to say a word that could cast doubt on the fight's legitimacy. But Jake Paul, as usual, couldn't keep quiet. On his podcast, he casually claimed he eased off during the match, like some self-appointed boxing messiah showing mercy to a former world champ. It wasn't just arrogant, it was potentially NDA-shattering arrogance. Sources say Tyson wasn't taking it lightly. If Jake really did breach the terms, he may have stepped over a legal line as thick as Tyson's gloves. But beyond contracts and legal threats, Tyson's fury boiled down to something deeper: protecting the legacy he bled for. A legacy Jake Paul seemed more than happy to trample on, all in the name of clicks, controversy, and content.
Welcome back to The Pain Game. Today we're going to talk Darren Till versus Tommy Fury / John Fury, of course. But first, some more important and quite serious news in the combat sports world. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, it's come out now. It was rigged. I can't believe it. You know, you have to question the validity of boxing these days when you can't trust two professionals to get in the ring and do their best against each other. And instead you find out Mike Tyson pulling his punches, not trying to hurt Jake Paul. Absolute disgrace. I thought better of them. You know, I really did. I thought that Mike Tyson, especially, Iron Mike, he was just going to go in there and knock Jake clean out. But here he is, not trying. I'm so disappointed in him. But you don't need to take it from...
The fight itself only threw more fuel on the fire. Statistically, Jake Paul dominated, landing 78 punches to Tyson's mere 18. On paper, it looked like a lopsided masterclass. But that's what made it so hard to swallow. This was Mike Tyson, the same man who used to drop elite fighters with fewer punches than that in under a minute. Watching him struggle to land clean shots felt almost surreal, like watching Superman lose a street fight to SpongeBob. Something was off. And yet, from ringside, the hits looked anything but fake. The punches were sharp, the impact real. Tyson didn't look like a man reading from a script, he looked like a warrior chasing echoes of past greatness, while his body refused to keep up. His once feared bob and weave had slowed to a labored shuffle, and his punches came in like a buffering YouTube video, delayed and fading. Even Tyson admitted mid-fight memory lapses, confessing he had blanked out during portions of the match. That revelation cracked the door open to even more speculation. Was it just age? Fatigue? Or something darker beneath the surface? Whatever the cause, Tyson's sluggish performance gave the conspiracy theories legs. But perhaps the explanation is the simplest and saddest: even legends can't outrun time.
But that changed when Paul clenched with Tyson. It's alleged he whispered into Tyson's ear to cool him.
Then came the aggression, and it caught everyone off guard. Ringside analysts quickly noticed this wasn't the usual Jake Paul. Gone was the playful showman who danced around influencers and faded athletes. In his place stood a focused, ferocious fighter throwing punches with real intent. Jake wasn't just competing, he was attacking. His jabs were sharp, his right hooks had serious weight, and his combinations were crisp and calculated. This was a version of Jake Paul that even veteran boxing commentators weren't expecting. He wasn't there to survive, he was there to dominate. At one point, he even opened a cut above Tyson's eye, a moment that sent a jolt through the crowd. It wasn't just blood, it was symbolic. A social media star had visibly hurt a boxing legend. Jake's intensity felt deeply personal, as if he had something to prove not just to fans or critics, but to himself. Gone was the smug grin, replaced by the focused scowl of a man trying to claw his way out of the internet celebrity shadow. He wasn't playing the entertainer anymore, he was fighting for legitimacy. And then, true to form, Jake couldn't help himself. After the fight, on his podcast, he lit another match. He claimed Tyson had approached him for the fight out of financial desperation. According to Jake, this wasn't a clash of competitors, it was a bailout for a broke legend. The audacity was staggering. Jake Paul, whose entire boxing career was built on spectacle and viral clout, had the nerve to say Mike Tyson, a cultural icon and global brand, was the one clinging to relevance for a paycheck. Fans were furious. The backlash was swift. Tyson's legacy isn't built on money, it's built on blood, pain, and an undying love for the fight. Suggesting otherwise wasn't just disrespect, it was delusional. Jake hadn't just reignited the controversy, he threw gasoline on a wildfire. Now, the story was bigger than the fight. The question wasn't just who won, it was why the fight even happened. Was this a real contest between two fighters? Or, as Jake hinted, a high-stakes business deal packaged as sport? Whatever the truth, one thing was clear, the Tyson-Paul saga had spiraled far beyond boxing. It was now a cultural flashpoint where ego, money, and legacy collided in front of the world.
I did tell you about it. At the time, I wanted to do a pay-per-view roast, like it was a boxing match, and they'd said, oh yeah, Mike can make $20 million.
And then there's the juicy pay-per-view, PPV, debate, the part of the fight that didn't happen in the ring, but in the bank accounts. Industry insiders claim both fighters walked away with fat seven-figure paydays. But behind Tyson's silence, some speculate there was tension. Did he feel shortchanged? Possibly. If Jake Paul earned more thanks to his massive online following, that would be a brutal twist. Imagine dedicating your entire life to building a legendary career only to be out-earned by a YouTuber who got famous pranking strangers and filming stunts in his backyard. That's not just business, it's borderline disrespect. So what was Tyson's motive? A savvy business play or a last swing at glory? Some say he craved one final taste of the spotlight before walking away for good. Maybe he wanted to show the world that even at 57, he could still make jaws drop and face a swell. But stepping into the ring with Jake Paul wasn't just a gamble. It was like a retired lion agreeing to fight a hyena with a camera crew. Tyson may have expected an easy check. What he got was a full-blown viral circus. Social media had a field day. Jake Paul was torched for allegedly disrespecting a legend, with fans accusing him of using the fight to boost his brand while dragging Tyson's name through the mud. Memes exploded, think pieces flooded timelines, and Twitter became a war zone. In the court of public opinion, Jake wasn't just playing the heel, he became the final boss of boxing trolls.
Reason and one reason only, and that is the money. He's getting paid so much money to do this, so that tells me he's getting bought. So again, it is sad that someone like Mike Tyson.
Rumor has it, Mike Tyson didn't just leave the arena, he stormed out, dropping a verbal haymaker on Jake Paul in the process. According to insiders, Tyson confronted Jake in a private post-fight exchange and unleashed a scathing warning: "Stop ruining my legacy and keep my name out of your clout-chasing mouth." Classic Tyson, blunt, fierce, and not one to mince words. But it didn't end there. Behind the scenes, things are reportedly heating up. Tyson's camp is said to be exploring legal action, especially if Jake's podcast comments, where he casually implied the fight was staged, violate the terms of their contract. In the world of high-profile exhibition bouts, there's one unspoken rule: you never talk about the script. And Jake may have just broken it. Sources claim Tyson's legal team is watching closely, ready to strike if Jake keeps pushing the narrative. Because for Tyson, this isn't just about one fight, it's about his name, his legacy, and decades of hard-earned respect. So what does all this chaos say about where boxing is headed? Has the sport crossed the line from combat to content? When hype, spectacle, and social media drama start outweighing skill and tradition, fans are left asking, are we still watching a fight or just the latest episode of a pay-per-view soap opera? The ring, once sacred ground for warriors and legends, is starting to look a lot more like a stage. And if that trend continues, boxing's biggest fight might not be between two men, it might be for the soul of the sport itself.